Hello, everybody. I guess we'll get started because I think we are the only thing between you guys and happy hour, so we will carry on. Hi, everybody. I'm Sandra Dreyer. You may remember me from humiliating myself in front of all of you last night doing Zumba on stage. And my theory now is that it can only go uphill from here. So I'm not nervous at all. I know my peeps are with me. I think it's hilarious, though, that last night I had all these people come up to me and say, "Oh, that was so brave. And you really just threw yourself in there," which I interpreted as, thank God that was you and not me. So it is what it is. Again, I'm Sandra Dreyer. I am the Director of Recruitment Marketing at PricewaterhouseCoopers.
I'm Rod Adams. I lead our U.S. recruiting efforts at PricewaterhouseCoopers as well. And thank you for coming to our session. We're happy to have you here and look forward to spending the next 45 minutes to an hour with you talking about some of the things that we do from a marketing perspective.
So one of the things that I think is great about these types of conferences is that it's really idea sharing. So I am by no means up here saying we have an amazing formula for experiential marketing, and I would like to share that with all of you so you can take it and emulate it at your companies. Our organization is different from a lot of organizations, so is yours, right? We all have different challenges that we're facing. We're all different sized companies. We have different demands on our resources, our time. So really this is something that we've done. It's sort of an evolution of our story over the past 4 years. I think we have a lot more to do in my role specifically. I think I have a lot bigger ideas than I have the ability to execute with my limited resources, boss man. So yeah, as much as I can, I'm going to be throwing things like that in here. Let's just, this is a good stage, right? I think it's being videoed, so yes, we can play back in case you're wondering at budget time. So one of the things that I'm excited to share kind of where our story has gone, but certainly what I'm really excited as well is to hear any of you. So at the end of this, certainly we'll open it up for questions, but I also think it's a great idea for us to idea share, especially if you're coming from a company that's maybe a little smaller, maybe a startup, ideas and things that you can share that you've done in this area. So before I start, just a little bit of a raise of hands of how many people in this room have marketing as part of one of their responsibilities officially in their role, officially. Okay, how many of you, that's a good number. I will say when I came to Talent Connect 2 years ago, that was a much smaller number, so that's kind of exciting that companies are starting to realize how important that is in recruiting. How many of you have a leader who kind of threw that onto your plate as an additional exciting new project that you can work on, but you have no resources, no money, and no anything beneficial as a result? Yep, okay. So a lot of us can share in that as well. So just a quick background on me and my story. I started at PwC 15 years ago, which makes me feel like a dinosaur because it wasn't my first job. But my background was in public relations and communications. I was a journalism major. I thought I wanted to be Barbara Walters when I knew acting wasn't going to work out for me. And then I realized I just completely changed and did something in journalism because I love to write. When I started with PwC, I was actually in the consulting practice. I worked in M&A integration, post-deal integration. And I worked in the New York, London, and Chicago offices. And then about 9 years ago, my husband and I were in London. We were coming back to the US. We wanted to start a family and knew that not both of us could probably live out of our suitcases and have the family life that we wanted. So I completely changed my career, but I wanted to stay at the firm. I'm very passionate about the firm. I was very passionate about the opportunities I had been given. And I wanted to find something that was still staying with the firm, but really gave me flexibility to really work from home, quite frankly. So I moved into our learning and development group, and then about 4 years ago, I was in the office of a friend of mine who does communications for the firm, who said, "Sandra, I have this incredible job description I've been asked to review. It's a marketing role. It's got communications, it's got some public relations, it's got some branding, and it's in recruiting." I was like, well, everything except that last thing, I'm so there. I can totally do that. I'm super passionate about the firm. I'm a great writer. I used to be in public relations. I don't know squat about recruiting, but how hard can that be, right? I mean, PwC is a huge name. Who wouldn't want to work here? And in this job market, if you get a job offer, I mean, come on. Like, this is a great place. How hard could it be, right? So War on talent wasn't even in my vocabulary at that point. So, so clearly I had some expectations that were a little unrealistic. But one of the things that we have really embedded as part of our strategy in marketing is experiential marketing. So just set a quick little definition of what that is. So experiential marketing, it's a way of advertising or talking about and sharing your story and your product with people by creating a connection with them. So you want them to experience your brand. Our brand is our people, right? We solve complex business issues for clients, and to an employee or potential employee, they need to connect with us as people, because I don't have a really cool product that I can show them. I was telling a story earlier, actually. My husband works for a company that owns a lot of alcohol products, a company called Diageo. So they own a lot of very well-known products. So when we go out to parties and people say, oh, what do you do? And if he says Diageo, they're kind of looking at him. And then he starts saying things like Johnny Walker, Jose Cuervo, Tanqueray, you know, all these fantastic brands. And they're, oh, that's so awesome. You must have the best alcohol collection. I want to be friends with you. So Sandra, what do you do? I work for PwC. I swear I hear it, wah, wah, like, so you're an accountant? I'm like, not exactly. No, I'm not an accountant. But that's, you know, and that's a humorous story, but that's kind of what we face with some of the people we're trying to recruit as well, right? They see sort of the typical accounting firm. They think, okay, yes, that, you know, I understand what you do for people, but really, why would I want to join you? What is the value proposition that you give me? So experiential marketing is a way for us to really early share with people what it's like to work at the firm so we can create a connection with them. And that connection, in our minds, is not necessarily that they become future employees. They could be future clients. They could be people who refer us to, or refer people to the firm. We just want to create a connection with them that goes beyond what it is that we sell and talks more about who we are as a firm and who we are as people. So the three things that we're going to cover today, I was trying to think, you know, what are the most salient points that we could talk about that's as universally, needed as much as anything. And I think the first thing is a business case. So probably a lot of you struggle with the business case of how do I get resources to meet the demands of what we're being asked to achieve. What is the business case that I need to make with my leadership? So imagine you work for an accounting firm, right? They want numbers, they want spreadsheets, they want ROI ahead of time. So how did we get the resources and the investment in something like this that is really hard to measure, especially in the beginning? So Rod's going to take us through that as the head of our recruiting organization. He's going to talk about what we do really on an annual basis to ensure we get the appropriate investment in these activities. And then I'm going to give you some examples of things that we do in experiential marketing, the face-to-face type of activities we do. Again, I don't think that all of these are universally going to be something that you're going to be able to do in your organization, but there's probably things that you can think of as we talk about why we picked these that might be something that you can do. And then finally, leveraging digital platforms, because quite frankly, we can't be everywhere all the time. So social media is such a huge component of what I'm sure all of us do, and I'm sure many of you are responsible for your social media, for your employer social media. That's also under my team's responsibility. So we're going to talk about a couple of tricks and things that we've done in social media. Again, we're continuing to build that as well. So I'm going to pass this over to you.
Thank you very much. And so like Sandra said, I'm going to focus on the business case. I'll turn it back over to her to focus on the details around what it is that we do, turn it over to her as the expert in that space. One of the things I'll say is that making the case for the investment in this area never really ends. I know she's joked about it a couple times since we've been up here, but in all seriousness, we were rehearsing for this earlier today, and we get done, and all of a sudden she slides her computer over, and it's, okay, here's why I think we need another resource, blah, 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 for all these things. So it is in a continual conversation around making
Hey, I had
the
a captive audience, and he was all agreeing with me, so it was a good time to slip that
I was agreeing. It's that important that I was agreeing. The other point I'll make, and I know she asked a question around just with all of you, and saw a few hands raised around the whole marketing element kind of just being added on to your roles or to the roles of individuals on your team versus a focus that has specific resources dedicated to it. We really weren't, we haven't been in this journey that long. Like Sandra said, she was hired 4 years ago. Prior to that, and as many people as we hire, we were pretty much doing it on the backs of recruiters who knew very little about marketing but we just kind of pieced it together and kind of figured it out and finally realized that wasn't where we needed to be. So to talk about how we made that business case, I want to just start by giving a little bit of the landscape that is PwC. We're a global firm, but we're a global network of firms. So focusing specifically on the US, we're about 40,000 people strong here in the US. We have 4 lines of service, essentially, 3 client service lines, and then our internal firm services group. From a client service perspective, we have audit, tax, and advisory, also known as consulting. And we hire a variety of different profiles, as you can imagine, given those different lines of service. As Sandra said, we're often thought of as an accounting firm, and if you don't know much about our brand, that's usually where people first go, is that's a bunch of accountants. By no means is that actually the makeup of our firm these days. In all 3 lines of service, we have much broader profiles in our organization than just accountants. From a recruiting perspective, we focus in both campus and what we call experience. So right out of school, graduates, and then also individuals making lateral moves. We focus pretty heavily in both sides. So to start on the experience recruiting landscape, what we realized a few years ago, what we predicted and what has ultimately come true, is that our numbers are going to be increasing pretty significantly. So you can see here, since FY13, we've gone from about 3,000 hires on the experience recruiting side to close to 5,500. We will probably be north of 6,000. I know we'll be north of 6,000 for this fiscal year. So we knew it was coming. From a planning perspective, we kind of saw the writing on the wall on where our hiring needed to go. Our competition is pretty much in the same situation. And so we knew this was going to be a challenge for us moving forward. A couple of things, just to highlight a couple of things that have been strategic priorities for us on the experience recruiting side, focusing on channels and having a specific strategy around how we attack these channels. So whether it's direct sourcing, referrals, alumni, agencies, just being very purposeful about the things that we do to go after those channels. Something that's relatively new to us, but has definitely been beneficial. Obviously, we use social media to engage with our candidates. And the last one I wanted to point out is called PwC Open University, purely from a perspective that this is actually not a recruiting-specific event program that we have. It's run by our L&D organization and what we call our alumni, part of our marketing group to some extent. We do a lot of work to connect with our alumni. First priority on that is actually business development. We've kind of tagged on to that. So these things would be happening with or without us, but we are actually physically getting our alumni together to provide them continual learning, continuing education programs, and it's a perfect opportunity for our recruiters to step in there, talk to those individuals, hopefully hire some of them back, get some of the people that they know in their network, things of that nature. So I wanted to point that out. On the campus side, same story. We saw the writing on the wall, we knew what was happening. Last 3 years, we've gone from 8,000 to 10,000 campus hires. We'll be close to 11,000 this year, so you start doing the math, we're going to be somewhere 16,000 to 17,000 hires this year. On the campus side, early identification is what it's all about. I was having a conversation this morning with an organization about tapping into high school students. It depresses me that we've got to stretch down to that point, but that's literally where we are now. If we don't identify them early, we basically don't stand a chance. So Sandra has some program information she'll talk more about there. I mentioned the expanding talent pools. This is a big challenge for us because we are hiring, again, much broader than our typical or traditional profiles of accountants. And again, in the conversation I was having with the organization this morning, he was relaying some stories, talking to some of his students who are IT background individuals. And the first thing they said, well, that's an accounting firm. What would I do there? How would I fit in? We just don't have the brand awareness outside of the accounting profession yet. It's building for sure. But we have to do more work there to really help people understand what our value is, what our opportunities are. So that's a big area of focus for us. So that's kind of the landscape. Obviously a lot of needs. So and here's where we get into the business case. We took the opportunity seized the opportunity a number of years ago, and we still do it, to start to really tap into are our stakeholders. So our candidates, those who accept, those who decline, our stakeholders from a university perspective, faculty, career centers, and surveyed to them to really understand what is it that could differentiate us? What is it that differentiates us from our competitors? You're all familiar with our competitors. From an opportunity perspective, from a compensation perspective, there's not a whole lot of differentiation there. We all have great clients. We all typically pay very similar. So what is it that we can do or need to do? And when we do it successfully, what differentiates us? And these three things, while not a surprise, it was great to hear it from our stakeholders on what was most important: fit, culture, people and those relationships, and then our reputation and brand. So when we started to think about 4 years ago, and when we continually have these conversations now around, okay, what's our business case for how do we encourage our partners to invest in the marketing branding side of what we need to do from a recruiting? It started with that feedback. We were able to take that as a data point. Again, it wasn't anything that we didn't already know necessarily, but it was much different hearing it from me or anyone else within the function versus me being able to say, okay, we talked to 2,000 students and this is what they're saying we need to focus on. It just had a much different impact. So we had that feedback. We had the burning platform, obviously, of needs that continue to skyrocket and no signs of that changing, which again creates that competitive environment. So we had that. The combination of those two things and then talking to our marketing subject matter experts within the organization who had already been doing a ton around marketing from a client perspective, customer perspective, who were able to educate us on experiential marketing, which you're going to hear more about here, and the impact that it could have on fit, culture, and people. We were able to say, here's what we need to do, here's the investment we need to make, and we're able to get buy-in. From there, so we have that. We started small. I don't even remember what the first thing was, but you will see now that we do a lot more. Each time that we've gone back, we've been able to use that business case, and in addition, we've layered on it statistics around conversion and acceptance rates and things of that nature that tell our story, as well as getting our leaders engaged in the programs that we're offering. That's probably been the most beneficial thing, to actually have partners that are attending these events or participating in these programs that can then go back and say, I personally experienced it and I know it works and I know the impact that it has makes a world of difference for us. So those are really the components of the business case. Relationships are key to our success. We don't have a product other than our people. That's what we sell, the knowledge and skills of our people. So those relationships are key, and while it's key from a client perspective, we carry that forward into the recruiting side as well. Mm-hmm. So I am going to turn it back over to our subject matter expert now, who can walk us through the details of exactly what we do and show you some of the examples.
Yep. So I put this slide in here because it always starts with your value proposition, and there's been a lot of really great workshops I'm sure most of you have attended on how to build an employer value proposition, so we're not going to talk about our evolution, but I did want to just sort of ground us in what it is. So it's grow your own way. No two career paths are alike, and that's why we'll help you design your own at PwC or beyond. Now the or beyond part, the amount of discussions that went amongst the leaders to admit the fact that a 22-year-old may come here and not stay for the rest of their career, and should we really talk about this? That was actually kind of humorous to be a fly on the wall in those discussions.
There's still some partners who mumble that part.
Yeah,
they don't actually say the words; they just kind of mumble it to the side.
And it was interesting. So if you guys were in the opening session this morning, and the woman from PepsiCo was talking about how you just don't close a door, and you need to build a relationship, keep a strong relationship. So it's pretty obvious that these people can come back as employees, or maybe even better, be a potential client for us. So it's really important to really tell that full scope of our story. So I just wanted to talk about sort of our value prop. This slide up here with these amazing children the most incredible children I've ever seen. Why is this slide up here? So typically when we ask our recruiters to go out and do presentations on campus, we tell them to introduce themselves by putting this slide up here. So what this is, and I know you can't read it, but this is the timeline of my personal career development at PwC, where I started. It talks about global mobility. I actually talked about the fact that I took 3 maternity leaves at the firm, and I still had a job when I got back. That's pretty crazy, since it happened within 3 years. And then I talked about my evolution of my career. I changed my career 2 times, so I've had 3 completely different careers at the firm. So we ask people to introduce themselves, because if you even have 2 people giving a presentation, and you put that slide up and you see that there's 2 completely different stories of how they've gotten to where they are, then the students can start identifying, oh, you know, maybe there's more opportunity for me than what I see on the surface. So I just threw that up there, and it's sort of a way of explaining how we talk about the firm. So, and I threw this slide up here too because I just wanted to kind of clarify what my team does. So as you can see, there's a lot on this slide that we do. I have a team of 2 people. I actually just got a junior person added to my team, and I call her her responsibility is taking the bucket to get the water out of the canoe that's sinking, that has been sinking for 2.5 years. And she's doing a great job. She's phenomenal. She's just been with us since September 1st. But we do a lot. So it's really anything in the space of public relations, brand, advertising. You know, if you think about collateral you bring out on campus, giveaways. The interesting thing is I always find the more you do and the more, you know, successes you have, the more that's asked of you and expected of you. I think that we all find that, right? So yes, these are sort of our day-to-day, but it's the everyday calls of things we're like, what? New initiatives and new ideas and things that people have that, of course, you know, we're the right team to kind of help them sort. So we sit in recruiting. So I know that might be a question, are we in marketing? No, I am in recruiting. Rod is my boss. I sit within the recruiting function. I would love to say we're super aligned with every marketing person at PwC, but I think you might see through me. You know, sometimes the organization is so big is an advantage because there's a lot of resources and things that you can leverage, and then sometimes the left arm doesn't know what the right arm is doing. I think we all know that can happen, but I think we've gotten to a really good place because we've had a lot of success in marketing and in social media that we are now much more connected with what's happening at the corporate level and even the global level. So a lot of our territories are taking some of our ideas and replicating them in their territories as well, so that's been very exciting. So let's get into some examples. I'd like to start with what our guiding principles are, because it's great to start executing ideas, but you want to make sure you're grounded in what is it that we're trying to achieve. So first impressions matter. I think that we're all pretty well aware of that. I know that the gentleman at Google talked about that this morning, that it takes 10 seconds for someone to make a hiring decision. It's probably about 10 to 15 seconds for a student to sit through one of your presentations and think, if that's a company I really want to work for, right? So we need to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward, and we're also focusing on issues that are authentic to us. You know, Pat talked about that this morning, that authenticity is extremely important in a recruiter because a candidate's going to see through that. You know, if I was delivering a presentation on campus or even up here and I was wearing jeans and boots and a cool leather jacket like I was from Silicon Valley, I think people would look and go, yeah, you're PwC. You know, you're really not that hip. And hey, you know, no, I'm wearing a dress. But at the end of the day, you know, we're authentic to what we are. So everything that we do within marketing is really something that's core to us as a firm. And that's kind of how we sort of operate on everything that we do. We want to give candidates insights into working at our firm. Again, it's to form a memorable connection with folks. Something that we just actually launched this year on our website is we have a whole series called A Day in the Life. A lot of our recruiters were getting questions from students, well, what do I do? You know, if I'm in assurance and I start as an associate, what is it that I'm actually going to do when I get to the firm? This is sort of a series of stories of people, the associate and senior associate level, at different parts of the business, and even in our specialty practices that really go through, this is kind of a day in my life. Is it, you know, what I do every day? No. But here's what we do. So again, it's really important for us to give an insight, and we do that on our website, but we also do that by bringing our client service associates and senior associates out on campus. One of the things I guess I should have said up front is we're really focusing on campus here because it's a much easier audience to get, right? They're kind of on campus and we can find them. Experienced, I'm going to show some examples of things that we've done with Experience, but the majority of these examples are on campus, which we're hiring almost 11,000 this year off campus, so it's a pretty big chunk of our focus. The other thing which we turned, and I wouldn't say we're 100% there yet, but really try to get out of, let me tell you about my firm, and go through the 50 slides of our organization, all the practices, how we serve clients, the work that we do, basically all the stuff that you could find if you went on our website. The idea is that if we have an opportunity to get in front of a potential candidate, we want to create a connection, let's focus on what their needs are. What's something that they would find valuable out of this session? What is something that they can get and take away, regardless if they're going to be a candidate for PwC? So really trying to flip the switch on that. And then finally, of course, leveraging multiple channels. So really wanting to make sure if we can leverage something on social media, we can't be everywhere at all times, so we want to make sure we're leveraging all the channels that we have. I think these opportunities and challenges are probably pretty universal. We've talked about our people are our asset, so we want to make sure we're leveraging that. One of the things that PwC is really well known for is our training. We've won a lot of awards in Top Training 100 about our internal training of our employees. So we have now taken that and decided, let's use that outside of the firm. Let's give people a sneak peek of what it's like to work here by actually giving training and development opportunities to students, whether or not, again, they're in our pipeline or we're looking at them as somebody potentially to come to work with us as an intern or a full-time employee. So we've taken that sort of strength that we have in training and started to take that out on campus. Millennials, I don't know if any of you were at the session last year, Talent Connect. We were on a panel talking about millennials about, I think it's next year or the year after, 80%, it's 2016, the year after, 80% of our population is going to be millennials. So we all have to understand what drives millennials, what are they looking for in an employer, and make sure that we have adapted for that. So internally at PwC, we've done a lot, and externally it's changed the way that we market our firm to candidates as well. So some of the challenges. We have a very large organization, yes. We do have a lot of recruiters, but we're also hiring a lot of people, and we're expecting to go to a lot of places. So, we have more than 150 schools where we recruit. We're hiring over 11,000 people. Our recruiters are overwhelmed. I think all of us can probably share in that. To then add something else on their plate to do some events and activities and expect them to take a really large role in marketing, while important, is sometimes not fair. So a lot of what we try to do at the national level is support them as much as we can by almost giving them workshops in a box and toolkits in a box. But it's something we always struggle with because we can only do so much at the national level. It's what they're doing in the markets that's really building a brand for us. So it's something that we still struggle with. We will probably always struggle with this, and I'm sure all of you can kind of relate with that as well. And then budget. If there's anybody here who doesn't have budget issues, there's 3 doors in the back. None of us want to know if you don't have a budget issue because all of us, I think, are facing that as well. So the platforms that we chose to leverage in our marketing is really career growth. We talk a lot about career growth internally and externally. Personal brand, the importance of a personal brand, and growing leaders. Leadership and leadership development is very important to our firm. So we do a lot of leadership development outreach with students, and we're going to go through one of those programs as well. I've given some examples in 3 different options. Go big or go home is sort of my motto. That was actually, I think in my high school, that was my like high school quote or something. Pretty embarrassing because I really didn't know what that meant at that time. But there are those big ideas that are going to take a lot to put together. I'm going to show you one next, which actually we just got off the ground yesterday. I'm really excited about. And that may be a different thing for you, but it's a one-time deal, right? It's something that you invest a lot in, and you're expecting a lot of return on that investment. Then there's the things that you would want to build into an annual plan, things that you might see recurring, maybe being once a year, but something that you want to build. So you need to build a budget, you need to think about plans, and then just tweaking it instead of recreating the wheel. And then there's the things that you can do with very limited resources and very little preparation and time. And I think hopefully a lot of you are leveraging some of those, but I'm going to give some ideas in that area as well. Okay, so here's my go big or go home. I was going to do a live demo, but I don't feel technology is my best friend. I have like a technology repellent on me, and so I thought the second I go to that computer and try to do a live demo, this just launched yesterday, so I'm doing screenshots instead. So this is the Go Big or Go Home. This was 15 months in development. I'm going to throw this out there. We expected this to go live August 1st, and it's October 21st or 20th when it went live. So sometimes, I think I mentioned at the beginning, sometimes you have a lot of really big ideas and then you realize, there's a lot more to execution if your platforms don't support it. So this is something that, I'll give you a couple of screenshots here. We just launched it. It's on our website. We're really targeting this for college students. One of the things that we talk about is career growth and development. So we do a lot out on campus about this, but this is sort of a tool that we have created for people who don't have access to a PwC recruiter, who maybe haven't had exposure to this, and it's sort of in supplement to a career services center. So it's not to replace a career services center on campus, it's in supplement. So Career Advisor is really a soup to nuts. It operates like an app, but it's a website to talk to people about finding out what their passion is, what kind of job should they pursue, what are some of the toolkits and things that they can look at to kind of build their resume and interview tips. There's a lot of external links to research tools and things that they can do. And the point of this was really to say, listen, we don't expect everyone we come into contact with is an appropriate candidate with the firm, but we want them to have a really strong interaction with us. And so I know all of you have faced, the candidate conversation of, I'm sorry, you're just not a fit for the firm, or, this is just, maybe at this time we don't have openings, etc. This is sort of that feel good sort of, as you're thinking about your career, go through this. There's a ton of activities and things you can do that will help you sort of build your job search toolkit. So we just literally went live yesterday. We'll do a big push now as well, but I'm very excited about this. You can go to http://careeradvisor.pwc.com and take a look at it on your phones as well, but not while I'm talking. I want eyeballs.
Two things I would point out on this. I do think one of the things we're really excited about, as Sandra said, is the fact that we do believe this is going to dramatically enhance the experience of those that we don't end up moving forward with, where we feel like right now that is a pretty significant gap for us, especially on the campus recruiting side. It's seen as a black hole, so we're excited to be able to extend this. And we also envision, and not too far in the distant future, even though I know Sandra doesn't want to think about it right now, but that this becomes something that we leverage on the experience side as well. So right now it's very much positioned for a college student, but with some pretty, I say easy because it just comes out of my mouth and then she does it. But for some pretty
we all
easy,
know that, right?
some pretty easy tweaks, we can position it, because obviously, there's a lot of professionals out there that are looking to make career changes and things of that nature. I think there's a lot of great information that will help from that perspective as well. So we're excited about leveraging in that space.
And to the point of not being a PwC infomercial, the only time you know it's PwC is you see in the upper, you see a logo, and then you see powered by PwC, but the content is external content for the most part. There is some internal content and videos that we have, but the majority, I would say 75% of this content is not PwC powered, owned. We get no kickbacks. It's literally just a resource for students. So another go big or go home. One of our platforms is leadership, and developing women leaders. So I think all of you are probably familiar with Lean In and the Sheryl Sandberg book that she wrote about how women can lean in. She actually wrote a book directed just to college students and women. So we partnered with her to do a global webcast that talks about the top 10 tips for college students and how they can lean in. And it was global, but with that webcast, we also built a number of workshops. We built a lot of tools so that if a recruiter was delivering this in Minnesota, they could get tools on how to do a panel after the webcast. We developed workshops on 3 different topics, which the beauty of it is it was a lot of work to get the workshops built, but they're evergreen. And they're things like personal brand and communicating with confidence and developing leaders. So there is, it is a lot of work up front, but it is, again, that opportunity when a recruiter is out on campus and is asked to speak at a Beta Alpha Psi organization or something. Maybe instead of doing the 50-slide, this is PwC, why don't you do a confidence workshop? Or why don't you do an interviewing tip workshop? So that was really something that came out of this that was really exciting. Here's some of the impact that we had. Over 2 million users tweeted PwC Aspire. We've had a lot of live views, but even more so in the webcast replay. So it was very successful. But again, that's sort of the go big or go home type of ideas. So one of the things that we've talked about, and Rod talked about it in terms of our strategy, is early identification is huge for us. Again, we have a lot of competitors who obviously, look the same and do the same, and we're all competing for the same talent. So one of the things that we really want to make sure we're doing is getting exposure to talent earlier in their academic career. So before they really become a candidate for an internship, getting them exposure in one of our development programs, for example. And this is one of the programs that we do, Elevate, and if you can play the video, I will let the video explain itself as to what this program is about.
Elevate is PwC's leadership program, and it's an opportunity for students to learn a little bit about themselves, to learn a little bit about the profession and the firm. And this is all done through experiential learning.
What Elevate is, it's about you. It's focused on you. If you will engage in this, you will have a ball and you'll learn something at the same time. It's about the experience.
Students will have an opportunity to get an inside look into our culture, who we are, what clients do we service. They also have an opportunity to engage in building relationships with our people. So they're working side by side with our partners and our staff. They're going to grow professionally and personally and really see themselves evolve as a leader.
What I love about Elevate is that you're learning every activity you do, you're learning something new.
We just did a miniature case study and we all just kind of collaborated and we learned how to divvy out our responsibilities and roles and really strategize before we dive into it. It was really cool to see everyone being so passionate about it, you know.
This is a leadership training. We're trying to give you an experience where you learn how to stand out as a leader.
I met copies of me that were colored in different ways. We may be in the same career field, but we have our own unique individual skill sets that kind of, fill in our gaps.
I definitely saw different career paths at Elevate. We saw examples of every line of service, and that was something that was really eye-opening for us, is just the grow your own way. It's real, and that's something that actually exists and that people really embrace at the firm.
I think we got it. Progress.
The energy, the excitement, and just the enthusiasm from the staff is just excellent. I haven't seen this anywhere else, and I think that's just what sets PwC apart. Here, the people care about one another, and that's what makes PwC so successful.
Yesterday, I could actually feel the emotion, the connection, and the team spirit.
Elevate will change your life. I would encourage anyone to do this. It's opened my eyes to a lot of different new things. I've developed and kind of found my own brand. I think this whole program really helped me.
Knowing that PwC believed in me helped me believe in myself, and it helped me kind of force a little bit of my fear of being that leader and really taking charge. So it was really awesome.
I think it's just one of the most amazing experiences I've had, and I've definitely changed a lot and grown a lot.
If you come to PwC's Elevate, you're going to work hard, you're going to learn a lot, you're going to grow, and you're going to have a lot of fun.
So that was the video was of our national program, but we also do this at the market level. So all of our markets do an Elevate program. It's an early identification program for sophomores and juniors. It's a leadership development program. And giving you a few stats here on how many people attend. We offer typically around 95% of those attendees get internship offers, and I think we're in the high 90s of conversion rates on those internships. And it's really helpful as well if you saw our goals. We have 11,000 that we're hiring each year, so it's a really helpful tool for our recruiters to take the burden off of talent, the war on talent that they go to in the fall as well. So again, the video is more of the national program, but they do this at the market level as well. And we partner with our learning and development team to build the curriculum around that, because again, they're the experts in the curriculum, so we're just taking things that they already do internally for us at the firm, and we're doing it externally for students. This is something else which we have on our website, personal brand, and if any of you have been up there, it's now really Career Advisor is personal brand on steroids because we've taken all that content and built into it. But again, when we launched this on our website, what we did in tandem is we created a bunch of workshops. And just to take the mystique out of how complicated a workshop is, it's interviewing skills, it's identifying your brand, it's how to network. And I've been out on campus where a senior associate or somebody who's been with the firm for 1 year has taken the workshop, kind of looked it over, and delivered it on campus pretty quickly. It's a way of promoting the firm and talking about the firm, but again, it's doing something that students are more interested in because it's skill development for them. So we did a lot. It's on our website, and any student certainly can access it and go through the tools and workshops, but more importantly, it's what they're doing on campus with the content and the curriculum. So last couple of pieces, I'm going to focus on our social media related, because that's something where you can hit a large number of people. This is a contest that we ran. We have another program that we do out on campus called Challenge, which is a case competition for accounting and tax students. And they solve solutions. The winners, they have sort of semifinalists throughout the markets, and then the winners are flown either to DC or New York, depending on if it's the accounting or tax, to present their case in front of a leadership team. And they all also win $10,000, so it's also great financially for them. It's very exciting. But one of the things we decided to do this year is we really wanted to extend our social media engagement, and we wanted to, we're thinking, what else can we do to add followers? What else can we do to get the brand out? So we decided, American Idol style, to have the finalist be sent on a public vote. So we took the 4 finalists and had them selected, and then instead of selecting a 5th finalist, we actually took the semifinalists and had them create a video on why they should be selected. And then the more votes, the videos that got the most votes, of course, were the 5th finalists. Now, what was cool about this is how passionate are you about your alma mater? So career services centers, alumni groups were reposting this over and over and over every single day. Didn't you say you got like a daily reminder from your career services that said, make sure you go out and vote, make sure you go out and vote. It was funny, I was actually, right after this happened, and I appreciate the power of the university, but then I got an email from the dorm that I went to at University of Texas to tell me that somebody who once lived in that dorm at UT is going to the Miss America pageant, and they need a public vote. Now, I will tell you, I've never in my life voted for a Miss America contestant. Good for them, but that's just not something that's in my wheelhouse of interests at all. I voted every day for a week because she went to UT, hook 'em horns, and she was in my dorm, so I totally get her. And she was a STEM major, by the way, which I thought was kind of cool too.
Do we hire her?
I know, and I thought, hey, I could hire her too. So the power of leveraging your passion about your school, your organization, so you see obviously the reaches that we got with that. So that was a very successful. As well, with millennials, we all know that corporate responsibility is very important. Giving back is very important. We wanted to share that story, but we didn't want to just say we're very corporate responsible and here's what we do and here's how we share. So we ran a photo contest on making a difference and what does that mean to you. Again, we had a lot of photo submissions. It's also really great because it creates a beautiful gallery for your social media. So it's really something cool that, when you're looking at a corporate social media page or website, you don't typically expect to see such moving pictures. So it was really kind of incredible, and that was another contest that we ran. Specifically, one of the challenges that we have is getting our own employees to engage in our social media channels. So it doesn't matter how many times we post, we ask, we beg, we plead, join our US Careers LinkedIn group, join our US Careers Facebook group, talk about why you love the career you have at PwC. It seems to sometimes, that we don't have time, it falls on deaf ears, until you offer an iPad. And then all of a sudden, an iPad a week. And then all of a sudden, we got a lot of really great, rich content. So we asked people to post a story about why they like PwC and how they've grown their own way with the firm. So again, it's our potential candidates hearing about how you can grow your own way from our employees, which is the most authentic way that they can hear it. And it was really their fantastic stories. And it really, an iPad a week wasn't a huge chunk of my budget, so we ended up doing that. So I'm gonna, the last thing is just sort of the everyday winners. So some of these I'm sure you guys are doing or you're thinking about doing, but when we don't have time, when we don't have budget, when we don't have resources, there's still always an opportunity to create an experience and to create a connection with folks. So there is live chat technology, which is relatively inexpensive. We've leveraged it as well on our website. We typically do is we'll send out a post that says, hey, we're going to have some advisory folks talking about different career opportunities in advisory and what the firm is doing and how we're growing. We'll send it out to our network, and then we run an hour-long live chat. And really what my team does is train the client service team on how to do it, and then we back off and let them do it because it's that simple, the technology. So there's things like that you can do. Again, it's leveraging digital. It's having a direct conversation with people you may not be able to see face-to-face. Coffee chat's the same thing. I mean, what we essentially did is we sent Starbucks cards to our recruiters and some tablecloths and cups and said, go set up a table anywhere you want to set up a table and say, hey, come by, meet us, and grab a cup of coffee and talk to us about what opportunities exist here. Workshops, which we've talked about, resume reviews, I'm sure you guys do this as well, office hours, anything that is really providing a service to the student, and by way of it being you and your company providing the service, you're starting to create a connection with that student. And then of course tailgates, had to throw that in there because I'm a big football fan. So again, here's the things that we were talking about, just the key takeaways. Making a business case, which is very important, and I know sometimes we're all struggling with how do we ensure that there will be a return on that investment, and then the different experiences that you can create face-to-face and then digitally as well. The last point that I want to leave with you is that it's always okay in this environment to beg, borrow, and steal big. So we have a very large firm. As I said, sometimes the right hand doesn't talk to the left hand. And I was on a town hall about 1.5 years ago, and they played this video, which just was so much fun, and we're going to end with this video. And I thought, this is so great. I didn't build it. I didn't pay for it. I didn't have to go through my legal counsel to get it approved. I didn't have to pay and hire the talent or edit it, but it was such a great applicability to a career at the firm. It was really built because we were talking to clients and our employees about our strategy and where our firm was going and how we were going to grow the business to meet our clients' needs. And it was just a perfect thing that we put on our website. So sometimes those things pop in your lap because I was on a town hall, but often those things are created and I don't even know until I'm doing a random search on our YouTube channel. So beg, borrow, and steal. Use your marketing departments, your learning and development, anything that you have internally. Ask what they're doing to sell to clients or to consumers and see how you can leverage that to sell a career and a value proposition of working at your company as well. So we'll just end with that, and then if you have any questions, there's 2 mics on either side, and you can go up there and we'll answer your questions.
I'm a tax partner. My specialty is software companies and emerging markets.
I specialize in mergers and acquisitions. I'm an advisory partner from Cincinnati.
I work in Washington, and my job is to oversee the auditor's role in protecting the capital markets.
I joined the firm in advisory as a direct admit partner after our acquisition last year. I was relieved it was PwC that bought us.
I'm a new partner in our Dallas office, Assurance. I'm also a mother of 3 beautiful girls.
When you run the largest information technology firm in the world, you need people around the world you can trust for quality and the experience. I use PwC.
I've worked in Mumbai, Shanghai, and Amman. Moscow, Reykjavik, Prague.
I haven't been very mobile, just Rio and Casablanca. I worked a reduced schedule for as long as I can remember, way before I became a partner.
PwC was one of the few places that understood I wanted flexibility in my work and my life.
Just the other day, I got an email. I was like, whoa, I haven't got an email in ages. What is this, 2013?
This team was going to fly out to meet me in Paris. Fly, for a meeting. So easy to do it virtual.
I heard no one was available. I almost hit the roof. I had a delivery team put together in 3 minutes. 2 in Bangalore, 1 in Austin, and 1 in Paris. People just don't think sometimes.
Service and quality, that's what makes the difference. How fast can you solve my problem? And can I count on you to make it right?
My team is all over the world, but we communicate more than if they were in the cube right next to me.
In this day and age, you have to move quickly. We have to keep everyone informed and up to date. That's what killed email.
I just read about PwC and what they're doing around the world to support youth education. It's inspiring. It matters to me that the firms we hire stand for something bigger.
I have to say, I admire PwC. It stands apart from any other firm in terms of quality, integrity, and doing the right thing.
The world has gotten smaller. The world has gotten more connected.
The world has gotten greener.
The world has gotten faster.
The world has gotten more responsible.
The world has changed.
We have changed.
We have changed.
PwC has changed.
We are PwC.
We are PwC.
We are PwC.
So if you have any questions, feel free, you can come up to us after or stand up at the mics. And I think I was reminded, don't forget to complete your survey if you loved this session. If you didn't, totally cool not to complete the survey. No big deal. So thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.